I'm saying all these things to absorb women from any blame. When they character develop you, when they monkey branch, when they hypergamize, when they chew you out and spit you out, and even in the damaged factor of childhood trauma of lack and mentality, when you see these women who straight up grow up to be pocos, it's nothing about them. It's everything about them. That's how the woman is designed. And now, because I'm speaking to men, not women, now here is the message for the men. Gentlemen, a woman's needs are directly proportional to the value of the source of her provision. I'll say that again. A woman's needs are directly proportional to the value of the source of her provision. The source of her provision. What is the value of the source of her provision? She determines that, and then she appropriates the necessary amount of needs dependent on the value of the provision. And I'll explain. And I'll go all the way to a little girl growing up. But before I do that, here is a shout out to my YouTube community. And this specifically is for the super chats. Rashid Mohammed, thank you so much for your super chat. Abyssinia Dental Center, that is Wasike, jobless guy. Mustafa, no, the other way around. Rewind. Sheriff Mustafa Sheriff, thank you so much for your super chat. And then we have a girl. Woohoo! We have a girl, and she's British. KBM from London, UK, with 10 UK pounds. That's like 15 US dollars. That money is expensive. Woo! Woo! London is the only place. UK is the only country I've been to where the dollar was playing back foot. Thank you so much, KBM. Keep those super chats coming. And for the American audience, I'll probably make it easier for you by opening Cash App. Everybody has a Cash App. So for the Western Hemisphere group, let's appreciate the product with a Cash App. I will have to create one now. A woman's needs are directly proportional, I'll simplify it for you, to where that need is being met. Directly proportional to the value of the source of the provision. And which is why now, I was going to say that earlier, it is very important for girls, not just boys, for girls to grow up with their daddy. Because these people got knock each other. Because the dad is the measure of the value of her source of provision. The dad is the very first source of her provision. I'm trying to simplify this here. And so, when she's a little girl and she check her dad, which is what little girls do, to see how much she can derive from the dad. Daddy ninunulia hii, daddy ninunulia hii, daddy ninunulia hii, daddy ukikuja niletea hii, daddy kesho utaniletea hii. She's measuring what is the balance value of the source of her provision. How much can dad provide? How much can dad afford? That's what she's doing. And so now when she becomes an adult, now that becomes the measure, the value of the source of the provision. It will make a lot of sense if I told you that is precisely the reason women hypergamize, because of the variation in the utility delta. If she no longer getting the satisfaction and the usefulness in the current situation, then she calculates the utility delta and she figures out whether to hypergamize to somebody else who can meet her needs. Now, where are we with the value of the source of her provision? The thing here is, a woman will always ask you for what she has already figured out you can provide. That's why you hear people saying she pushes him to be better. It's because she has weighed the options and she has decided that she is better served in this relationship. Because when she's presented with the options of leaving a relationship, she makes a mental calculation and she sees that the utility delta is so high, it doesn't make any sense to hypergamize. But if she did the same thing and she found out that she would get better benefit elsewhere, the options were better elsewhere, then she hypergamizes. And therefore she increases the value of the source of her provision. Now, if we go back to the child, a child figures out the power of the provision of the dad, which now will be transferred to the husband, to the boyfriend, to the man in her life, to her person. And you have heard Mnyamwezi say that poor dads raise pokos. And there is so much science behind that. Because it speaks of the trauma of lack and scarcity. Remember, the dad is the God. The dad is the provider. The dad is the one who meets everything. And the measure of the value of the provision is standardized, but what she learns as a little girl from her father. But if there is so much deficiency in the demand and the supply, in the ask and the dad providing, if there is so much deficiency in between that, as a child, she is unable to calculate the utility delta, but she internalizes it as a form of a trauma. that there is a lack here, there is a deficiency here. And that's why you hear Munyamwezi saying, poor dads raise pokos. Because that kid, that little girl, from a very early age, she has already figured out that provision is not coming from here. And so now, her attachment to the value of the source of her provision is distorted. She has now to start looking for other men to fill in the gap. And that's now what makes a popcorn. From a very early on. And she has no idea where it's coming from. It's coming from the trauma of lack and scarcity from the dad. Now, in natural order, where the dad provided and the dad created the value of the source of the provision of the little girl. Now, she has a standard. And now you also hear people saying, women out here setting standards that are beyond their dads. Again, that's where it's coming from. Because the dad was the SI unit of the value of the source of the provision for this girl. That is the natural order. That's why girls and also boys marry their fathers. And more so for girls, my glasses are crooked. And more so for girls, because there's greater significance in the man in her life when she's growing up, the father, than there would be in the transposition of the mother in the lives of a small boy. So this man here is the one that sets the standards. But if the standards are too lopsided because of the diminished value of the source, out of scarcity and lack, then it distorts her psyche. And from a very early on, she knows she cannot get value from the father figure that is the SI unit of the value. And now, straight up, she becomes a poko. The same value of the source of her provision informs what kind of a man she attaches with in the future. That is the normal trajectory. The reason she's becoming a poko is because she has figured out this one man who represents all 1 month of her life. I'm simplifying it for you to understand. The father is going to be the paramount male figure in her life that will provide for her for the rest of her life. If that man is not providing, then she internalizes it that one man does not provide. She needs more than one man. Now she becomes a poko. That's the distorted form born out of the trauma of lack and scarcity. But now in this SI unit of the father who provides, and now she uses the source, the value of the source of the provision the father provides, and attaches it to every man in her life, then in her adulthood, she's always going to look for a man who is a representation of her father, who has the equal or more value of the source of her provision. Make sense? Makes sense. Now you want to ask me, George, then why do they hypergamize? Remember that thing I mentioned? The utility delta? Utility is the satisfaction, the usefulness that she derives from the relationship. The delta is the difference between this relationship and the one she might hypergamize to, the option. Remember, women do not settle women run out of option. That option now is the delta, the difference. And she's calculating the delta of the utilities, the current relationship and the future relationship. And she's trying to figure out, should I hypergamize? Because she's making the mental calculation of the delta, the difference inside of the options presented to her when she compares the current relationship with the prospective future relationship that she is about to monkey branch to. I'm saying all these things to absorb women from any blame. When they character develop you, when they monkey branch, when they hypergamize, when they chew you out and spit you out, and even in the damaged factor of childhood trauma of lack and mentality, when you see these women who straight up grow up to be pocos, it's nothing about them. It's everything about them. That's how the woman is designed. And now, because I'm speaking to men, not women, now here is the message for the men. A woman's needs are directly proportional to the value of the source of her provision. The value. It is very, very important. Ni cha muhimu sana. You as a man, you build your value. You build your value before you attach yourself with a woman. That's what the woman is looking for. The value. That's what the manosphere apportion high value man. HVM. We can't try with an ear. The only way to meet a woman at the point of her needs is to increase the value of the source of your own provision. Remember those PPPs that the family sold you? Provider, protector, penetrator? That value right there, the provision. Build yourself before you attach yourself with the woman. Because the woman is looking for the most high value man she can access to transact her sexual market value. You didn't see that coming. The higher your value is, high value man, the higher your value is, the more you get access to women with the highest sexual market value, which is why in episode 6, you had me telling Mr. USIU, you've taken the time, you have suffered, you have dedicated, you have worked hard, you have worked on your frame, you have worked on your money, you have made bank. Now you are a high value man. Why would you enjoy that high value with somebody who withheld and denied their sexual market value when you didn't have your high valueness? Try with an ear. The whole reason you want to build yourself to the outermost is so you can have access to the women at their highest sexual market value. Sio hivi nyangalika danguru ujijenge, utengeneze maisha yako, uumie kama mwanaume, you make bank, you become a high value man, alafu unasukumiwa mwanamke wa 38 years old. Wapi? Wapi? What is she bringing to the table? If she cannot answer that question, if she form a sentence or form on her mouth, she ain't it. She ain't it. She ain't it. Build yourself. Improve and increase your value so that you can participate in this arena of transaction between you and a woman with the highest sexual market value. That's the natural order. And do not let the society brainwash you into believing that when you are up there, you should now start looking for the vinyangarikas. Hapana kubali maneno. I have talked to more than 20 men, maybe 25, 24, and 2 women. And that's where men are stuck in. And I said from the beginning, a woman is going to do what a woman does. A woman is a woman is a woman. She comes like that. She's responding to nature. It's nothing, it's not personal. She's only responding to nature. You as a man, you have a different clock. And that clock is to build yourself, is to increase and maintain your own value. It's the only time. Then, therefore, you should participate in the marketplace of exchange of values. Your high value man values and her sexual market value values. Even the nails is from the enemy. Keep it there. Raise your value. Work on yourself. Work on yourself. Build yourself. Create, build, make bank. Power, money, influence. Then you have something of value to transact. And then don't go waste your money. Don't go waste that value on somebody who has no value of herself. And there is no other value in a woman except for sexual market value. What are you bringing on the table? Mimi kiranyito horo